Good, the recording has started. So, hello everybody. Good morning. Welcome to episode 2 of Value Talks from VCL. I'm very happy and excited today to be joined from two industry experts, if I may use the term, from the Digital Marketing Institute, which I will introduce in a minute. This is, as we said, the second episode of Value Talks. And today we will be diving into the topic of digital transformation and value reinvention, and how this affects how we either do marketing in the modern, let's say, era, or how we communicate messages coming down from the strategy through the marketing department. So I'm very happy today to be joined by Dr. Alex Tierney and Paul Munds from Digital Marketing Institute. Both of them will say a couple of words about themselves now. And in the meantime, while we hear the introduction, we will also would like to get some feedback from the people joining us live today regarding the roles and what they do in the company. So we will also launch a poll as we do the introductions. So, Alex.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for having us today. As Paul mentioned, my name is Alex Tierney, and I'm a program manager here at the Digital Marketing Institute. Today, I'm excited to talk about digital solutions for you. So this is a brand new world that we're finding ourselves in, and how can you keep up? So yeah, I look forward to having a discussion with you all today.
Thank you. Paul?
Thanks, Paul. Nice to meet everyone this morning. So my name is Paul Munds. I've been with the Digital Marketing Institute for over 9 years now. My role at the moment is sort of a digital skills and sales performance coach. Over the last 9 years, I've worked with a lot of individual professionals from all over the world, all 5 continents, and corporate clients. So I've been very much had a front row seat around the digital transformation piece. So hopefully share some insights and some experience in those case studies today. Thanks, everyone.
Excellent. Since you're on the front row, you're in the field, if I may use the term. You see how is the situation in terms right now in the environment that organizations, let's say, are operating. And we would like to get your feedback and also the feedback from the people, again, attending us live regarding what is the situation right now. We have seen a lot of disruption happening. We can go a little bit further back. We had the economic disruption, if I may use the term, in 2008, 9, and so on and so forth. That changed a bit how we operate. Then we also had the technological revolution, I would call it, not the disruption of the modern and emerging technologies that come on board. And this has heavily affected, let's say, especially marketing. But what are you seeing now following, let's say, these two that we discuss? What is the situation out there?
Okay, so I mean, I suppose post-COVID, it's really been an accelerator. Okay, so you mentioned some disruptions there. The first disruption, as you said, was the financial one in 2008, 2009. My experience of that disruption was that a lot of companies that had to lay staff off, those staff were actually going into to get trained in digital marketing because they saw the digital industry as relatively young, but it was growing. So they saw opportunities there. And as we went through each disruption, it's been our experience that digital marketing, digital skills are almost recession proof. If anything, when a big disruption happens to the world, it accelerates more companies, more people into the technological field. Okay, so COVID has probably been more of an accelerant than a disruption. It just has accelerated some companies, large, medium, or global, to put more budget into moving online. It just an overall sort of viewpoint that I've had as well. Every time there's been a sort of a scare around customer data or customer privacy, and there's been predictions that a particular platform may lose an audience, if anything, those platforms have just gotten bigger and more platforms have come in. So what's really at its most simple point, and any of the leaders here today think of this, what's driving all this really is that your end customer, whether you're a B2B or a B2C sort of business, is using digital platforms to research, talk, find out more about your products or service. That hasn't changed. If anything, the average consumer has moved more online to do more research, and therefore companies' challenge is trying to catch up, because one customer is a lot more agile than a big company. Okay, and that's been the challenge. So at a high level, the challenge for digital transformation has been, how do we change how different departments do business? How do we bring different people with different backgrounds, different skill sets into a team that we've never had these skills before? So it causes a lot of disruption between departments. So we'll focus mainly on marketing today, but a digital transformation strategy actually involves most areas of the business. It can bring in IT, it can bring in customer service, it changes how we sell sometimes. One of the case studies I'll speak about later, IBM, is a good example of that. It changes how we serve our customers. And so it does pose challenges. I think another challenge for leaders in marketing and in business in general is, because digital marketing is a relatively new industry, relatively new in terms of the skills, so it's not been around for 30 or 40 years, there's still a lot of different opinions out there about what's the right way to do something. Okay, so so finding your service providers, finding staff, and finding people to lead your digital marketing strategy, that can be a challenge. Okay, because there's not one set way of doing or setting up a good strategy across all the platforms, because it's still a relatively new industry. And again, we speak to marketing managers all the time, every day, all over the world, and their biggest challenge sometimes can be, I'm looking for someone to come in as a content marketing specialist, but I'm not sure what type of person I should hire. I'm using 3 different agencies at the moment, and I struggle to understand what, like, is agency 1 doing better work than agency 2? Am I getting the most out of my PPC spend? So there's still a lot of misinformation and disinformation out there. I would say to people today, be very careful about who you follow on LinkedIn. Read reputable websites, make sure the insights are well researched. And I suppose what we represent as well is take control of your own knowledge and training, and get proper certifications, because again, as a relatively new area in digital marketing, it's very popular. There's a lot of people looking to study in it. There's been courses have popped up all over the world, and some are excellent and some are very poor quality, and everything in between. So look, it is what it is. It's a relatively young profession, and nobody knows and this is the challenge. A digital marketing expert in 2021 has to reset their dial in 2022 and start again, because there's more platforms. The platforms have changed, techniques changed, tactics that work. And most importantly, the customer is always changing. Their research habits always changing what they do online. So it's fast paced, but it is exciting. And I will say this as well, it's quite interesting for marketing professionals. Most marketing professionals I speak to, and they're from all over the world, across the MENA region, across Australia, across the US, most at the start find digital a bit of a challenge, because it's disrupting what they used to do. Okay, but generally speaking, it's probably reinvigorated a lot of people's professional careers, because now they're learning new skills, they're getting new techniques, they're quite powerful, they're interesting, they change. So for most professionals I speak to, at the start, digital marketing, digital transformation, it seems incessant. How will I keep up with this change year on year? But as they start to develop, they develop a career strategy where they can keep up to date, month by month, week by week, in a way that suits them. Okay, so we don't have to know everything all at once, and we don't have to predict the future, but we can learn to react more. And I think words like agile are very important as well. So that's just COVID essentially has been an accelerator. Okay, and that's a very long answer I gave you there, but it's just to give you a flavor of the last 10 years. Okay.
Excellent. Thank you, Paul. I mean, a bit summarizing is we see a change in the behavior of the customers themselves, how they do more research through the digital channels. Then comes the need for the marketing departments to change and be present on those digital channels that their customers are looking into. We have the challenges of generations, so we have multiple generations, and because of this accelerated change that happens, then there's a challenge of some generations use this way, the other generations use the other way. So some companies, they have to be able to balance things out, being able to reach your target audience in the proper way. And then you said something really important, which is when the leadership of the company creates a new strategy, goes through a reinvention exercise, then they say, we talk digitally to our customers, we deliver digitally value to our customers, then our marketing also becomes digital, and there comes the need for the skills, for upskilling. And then there's the other challenge, we have a lot to discuss, is for the agencies, for example. Some companies in the early stages of digital marketing said, we don't have the capacity, let's hire an agency and do this for us. And then they say, why, how is the agency performing? Or how can I understand? Because even understanding the performance of digital marketing is not easy if you don't understand digital marketing itself. So we've seen in the beginning a rise on getting a digital agency, a digital marketing agency. And then now we're trying to increase the skills of our own, or the capacity of our own digital marketing teams to understand what is happening.
Correct. Yes. And again, if I'm a senior leadership figure, I'm always looking for reassurances that if I invest more in a certain area, I want to know it's going to be successful and around for a long time. Okay. So when I first joined DMI, there was still a lot of uncertainty as to whether is digital communication sort of a fad or a fashion? Will some of these social platforms phase out? And we've invested in heavily, and now suddenly they're not as impactful. But I suppose now, after nearly 10 years, and these platforms have gotten bigger, if anything, their audience have gotten bigger, and therefore you see more senior professionals feel safer, leadership figures feel safer investing in, whether it's new staff, more budgets, using extra agencies, having an integrated approach. I think as well, it's very important to say that when it comes to like managing agencies, some companies will have a combination of people in-house and also agencies completing some work, and they learn how to work together. Okay, so for example, we ourselves do have PPC specialists working full-time in our company, but we also use a PPC agency. Okay, so to get the best results for us. So it's very much a mix and match approach. I think as well, for if I'm a senior leadership figure, if you look at all of the reports that are being published across the world by governments, so the UK Parliament did a huge, they set up a committee for science and technology about 5 or 6 years ago. They estimated that like a lack of digital skills is costing their economy billions year on year. You may see KSA, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, they have a transformation strategy called 2030. You won't go too far in most countries in the world where government has not produced a report which says that we're not producing enough people with good technology and digital skills to maintain our economy. Okay, and the problem for a country is, and all the businesses within, if you don't show foreign direct investment, the fact that you have a good digital skill base to come in and set up here, you're going to possibly lose out against other countries. Also, if you look at Amazon, who've, obviously COVID has blown a great wind in their direction. Amazon provide a direct threat to a lot of local businesses, national businesses, who, if they're not efficient online, and COVID has been a massive player in this, it poses a huge threat to retailers if they can't compete and offer a solution that is somewhere along towards what Amazon do. They can't offer the same. Just to give you an example, in Ireland or the UK, in COVID, you would have seen customers in the UK and Ireland, a lot of people on social media talking about maybe we should buy from a local business online, a business in the UK or Ireland, to support the economy during these tough COVID times. But if the local small to medium enterprises aren't online, they won't be able to trade there. Okay, so yeah, you can find, that we can share with you, to share with the attendees today, 4 or 5 really interesting government reports which tell you about how the country is approaching digital over the next 10 years, and all the companies that work within that country. So again, if I'm a senior leadership figure, it just gives me more reassurances that if I put more money into my digital transformation strategy, whether it's my own skills or my teams or the wider companies, I've got the reassurance that governments are also investing the same time as me, okay, into this area.
True, and we have seen this happening in many of the countries. As you said, the greatest example is Saudi with the 2030 vision, of course. and competing, let's say, against the people that already have a well-defined, let's say, digital marketing skill, and those local companies that suddenly they had nothing, and then you have people searching online. So if whatever product that you're looking to buy, then you need to have a presence there. And if if they have the good motivation you discussed, that they need, let's say, to find someone who's local to just boost the local economy, if they're not there in the digital media, in a sense, then even the buyers are not aware of this. They're not aware of them, in a sense. Excellent. Good point. I would like to go, first of all, I would like to mention, if anyone from the live audience has any questions, there is a Q&A session, so please feel free to take advantage of everyone here, the experts and on the event, to give us your questions, and we will look at them and answer them. We will have a special Q&A in the end. And I want to go a little bit further back, because the same word came up in the previous value talks, where is the agile. You mentioned previously that the right now you need to react fast to the changes to be able to get to the competitive advantage, and being able also to communicate really fast. And this is what the marketing departments are looking into their digital strategy. So there is the change comes, the business has to, and this is where VCL comes, for example, into the game. The business has to react fast. So the leadership has to define, do a reinvention of how they will deliver the value, get the message really fast, and market the message across again really fast. So agile, it's one of the words, or speed, if I may use the term also, is one of the things that most of the organizations are looking into right now. And this will just put you on the leaders, let's say, quadrant when it comes to that. So thank you for that.
No problem.
So we've discussed, maybe Alex, I don't know, since you've been quiet, we want also your opinion and your understanding on the situation right now. Just a couple of words before we move over to the next session, the next section. Yes.
Absolutely, yeah. So I think even just to discuss your last point, when it comes to agile, so much of agile is also listening to feedback and anticipating what your customers' needs are. And as Paul said, Paul Munds, I know we have two Munds here today, or two Pauls here today. When it comes to understanding your customers' needs, I mean, the customer is changing so much, and the demands of the market are changing so much too. So if I might segue into solutions for these issues, a great way to be able to understand the customer is to get educated in digital marketing. And that's why this is so important to, for instance, what we offer at the DMI is we're the experts in digital marketing. So it's our job to know what customers need, what companies are missing, and to provide you with that education. So for example, what we see in COVID is there's just been a complete shift, as Paul was saying, to everything digital. So we're seeing, in terms of just looking at consumers and customers, and I'm sure we can all relate to this, when we sign on online, we want to purchase things the same way we used to. We want to be certain that what we're purchasing is good and authentic. But we also want to make sure that we're having the same digital experiences. So we want to make sure that we're getting the same type of service, the same value from our brand, and all of that. And that can be quite intimidating to switch from sort of a bricks and mortar business to digital. So that's why you sort of need that education. And in particular, to pick up on the previous points, a really helpful way to move online and digital is to work with an agency. But in order to get, and I'm sure we all are sort of struggling with different budgets and everything like that too. So in order to get the most sort of bang for your buck, you need to be able to speak the same language as the agency that you're working with. We've all been in situations where you think, oh, I wish I knew what that person meant. I would have been able to get so much more out of that conversation if I'd only just known a little bit more. So if you're educated in sort of the basics of digital marketing, you're able to really, really thrive and optimize that relationship with your agency. So again, that's just so important right now when things are moving so quickly and changing so quickly. As Paul said, 2021, your strategy might be great, but 2022, we're returning out of lockdown, depending on countries that you're in. The consumer again is going to change. There are going to be new demands. Who knows what the known unknowns are and the unknown unknowns are. So there's so much that we need to anticipate. So that's why you need to have that strong background when it comes to your business. So that would be sort of the solution is to kind of look at what a digital education can offer. In particular, I might just mention our CDMP program. So that's a program that's our flagship program. We're working with VCL. And in particular, we really cover those basics of digital marketing. And I shouldn't use the term basics, the essentials of digital marketing. So things like content marketing. How are you going to capture your audience? What are you going to make sure what you are saying is what they need? Also, how do you attract people in through your content? Social media marketing. I mean, if you are not on social media, you're not working. You need to get online.
You don't exist in it.
Exactly, you don't exist. Talk about staying relevant. Things like search engine optimization, SEO. So, everyone is finding each other on Google or Bing or Yahoo, whatever it is that you use. Search engines, you need to make sure that your organic search through SEO is valid, because I was just doing a different webinar yesterday talking about authenticity and trust from the consumer, and that you really need to make sure that you're building trust and authenticity with your audience, whoever that might be. And a way to do that is through search engine optimization and making sure that they are able to see what you can offer. Also, in terms of sort of optimizing that search engine, there's
Is it just me or we lost Alex? Yes.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, excellent.
Okay. Sorry, everyone. I might not be able to hear you. Paul, could you speak?
We can hear you. So.
Okay. I can. Thank you. So I'm going to do this. I know you can hear me, but I can't hear you. So pay-per-click is offered.
Maybe until you fix
now?
the issue, let's also throw the. We have another poll actually that will be relevant to what we will discuss next. So Abdul, if you may, until Alex fixes the audio issues. Yeah, she's
Sorry,
back.
everyone.
Yes, just throw the poll about the digital marketing strategy. Excellent. So while we're coming back, we have also the poll ready for people to vote. Yes, Alex, you're back.
Sorry, everyone.
No worries. It's technology sometimes, we know.
Yes. This is why we need to be digitally savvy.
Yes, exactly.
So I was just going to say, in terms of what's offered for staying relevant, because there are different elements of education that appeal to some people. You might be really interested in content marketing, and pay-per-click is something that is not of interest to you, but you do need to be aware of all these different things. So just to say, we also offer with VCL things like YouTube and display advertising. It might seem easy enough. Oh, I'll just make a YouTube video, throw that up there, and people will see this. You need to make sure that that aligns with your strategy and that you're optimizing that video. You need to make sure it's being seen by the people who you want to see it. Email marketing, which we actually have a webinar coming up soon on email marketing.
Today.
Website optimization. Oh my gosh, that's today. Thank you, Paul. And the biggest one to wrap everything up together is digital marketing strategy. I mean, that is the most important. You can know about SEO, but if you don't know how to use it, you're swimming. So you need to figure these things out. So that's sort of a long-winded way of saying, here's the solution. It's to know about all these things, and it's to get this education from a trusted advisor. So as Paul was saying, you need to make sure you're following the right people on LinkedIn, but you also need to make sure that you're learning from the experts, because you don't want to waste your time either. So those are my thoughts.
Excellent. Thank you. I just have some notes here regarding the education part. As you said, I already touched on previously that even the leaders, it's like one of the challenges that we might see happening is when it comes to budgetary discussions about digital marketing, if the approver doesn't have a good understanding what digital marketing is and how to assess digital marketing, then he doesn't have the decision power to understand if I have to approve this, I have to spend like 10,000 euros, I'm just using a number, for search engine optimization. If someone doesn't understand the impact on their business of that, how can he make the decision of spending or no spending those money? So I believe the education part has to come up to the level of the leadership just to understand why they need to spend on digital marketing and understand the impact that this will have. Another note that you've already touched was the feedback. I call that the customer voice in a sense. And we've seen this coming into play as ourselves, as consumers all the time. You're going to be seeing at reviews. It's so much easy now to be able to find out the perception of other people. And again, you have to be very critical about it, about a brand or about something that you want to buy or everything. So the voice of the customer is coming in really loud right now, and organizations have now the tools to listen to the voice of the customer and be able to adjust either in marketing or in a business when we do, for example, either value reinvention exercise on the business level or even down to the marketing level. Excellent. Paul, I don't know, because we moved into the solutions, so there's the need for change, and this is where I want to step a bit when it comes to we discuss the challenges, so it's very clear the need to change or reinvent, as we call it in VCL, and how important is that for you, and what have you seen out there with the organizations you've been working with?
Yeah, so what I'll do here, I'll reference back to a couple of real companies and real case
Excellent.
studies, which we have on our website. We can share as well with anyone here today, because it's always good to, relate back to something real and tangible. So some examples of change and how companies had to react to disruption. We've had some financial institutions in Europe who AIB would have one of the most digitally savvy banks in Europe. Okay, so what AIB did through training, and they set up a digital academy sort of laboratory, where they built a big digital team to start building new financial products, e-commerce, e-banking, and let people research mortgages online, B2B banking services. So they managed their transformation over a period of 8 or 9 years, training tranches of staff. And the change for them was they've made a lot of sort of staff working at physical branches redundant over the last 10 years, and they've built a bigger internal central digital marketing team, so they're actually serving their customer more online. So it's a marketing transformation, and a customer service transformation, and a sales transformation. We had another bank in Europe who around 2016 they had an issue with their ATMs, which caused massive issues for about 10 to 12 days. And here's an example of how a company can get caught out if they're not set up to be agile online. They had a lot of complaints, as you'd expect. Companies and individual customers could not extract money. And every day you can't take your own money out, you get really, really angry. Okay, so you can imagine the level of anger at 10 or 12 days. And the bank was not set up to be agile on social media, to meet the customer anger halfway and calm people down, let people know what was happening, have a PR strategy, to limit the amount of brand damage. On the back of that reputational damage, that bank put about 250 of their marketing and customer service teams through the DMI Pro, the CDMP that Alex was just talking about there. Okay, and that their reaction was, if this ever happens again, we want to be ready to be agile and meet the customer online. Around some other companies around the world, IBM have been working with us on a big transformational journey about how they market and sell. Okay, and what they've seen is, using digital communication and marketing channels and sales channels, they've been able to increase the average order value from the teams working internally as opposed to the field. Okay, so if you take companies like IBM or SAP, who are our customers, big technology firms around the world, and their case studies are on our website. What they noticed was the staff that they had out in the field, okay, were generally the people who would bring in the biggest orders. But over a period of time, they started to see around the world parts of their internal sales and marketing teams starting to attract larger order values, okay, because they were there when the customer wanted them to be there online, okay, whether it was through some social platforms, doing some research online. So they started to see their internal teams grow their average order value. And IBM thought, well, if we come up with a transformation strategy and we change our traditional marketing and say our internal sales teams, add digital to their skill set, social selling, social media marketing, all of those areas, would it make a difference to our bottom line? And again, you can look at the case study. Some of the improvements IBM made over the next 12 or 24 months when they introduced the training and certification were astounding. So their lead to conversion time reduced dramatically, their average order value went up. So there was real definite commercial outcomes, because I know if I'm a leadership figure, everybody's telling me do more digital, put more money in, but I like to hear like what are the actual ROIs. So it's nice to look at a case study where there's facts and figures. And one thing it's important to say about the IBM strategy, and it relates to companies all over the world in terms of training and education, they brought certification in too. So they sold it to their staff that this is for your own development. Any piece of training you do, you will walk away, you'll do a test and you'll get certified. You will probably see, and I'm sure some of the leadership figures here today can relate to this around training and education, there's been a definite shift, and this has been driven by COVID too, a definite shift away from one-off, very expensive training events for a company where we invite people to an away day or an away weekend. It costs a lot of money. We do training, but after 3 weeks, 6 weeks, 2 months, 4 months, a lot of the knowledge and training gets lost. Companies are moving more towards online, on-demand, continuous education and development of their teams. And also employees they want to walk away with a qualification for themselves. So if my company's going to put me through training, I've no problems doing an exam and getting certified. What certification allows you to do as a business, and a lot of companies, we work with a lot of pharmaceutical companies, around Europe, around the world, and paper trails are very important. It's very important to see if we've done training, we've got certified people, we're handling sensitive information, we're handling customer data. So increasingly we see, for companies and individual professionals, they like more continuous bite-sized education and training, and they have most have no objections to getting a test, because it makes them feel more, it puts a competency into their career, into the business. So IBM brought that exam in, and what it did was it really solidified the training. Okay, if I'm an individual business professional, I'm much more likely to put more effort into my training and education if I know there's a point in the future where I'm going to do a short test on those knowledge and skills and the information I've taken. It's a win-win for everybody, okay? Because as I said, those IBM, and we probably have certified about 5,000 plus business professionals across the world, across all continents. They now have pieces of digital education and certification on their own CV. So if they choose to leave and go into a different job, they can look back and say I've validated the training that I've done. And of course IBM have made the immediate win of improving their sales conversions and increasing and they've also probably managed to reduce some expenses too. So I think that's a very important thing to talk about with digital transformation. There's always costs to doing something new. So you've got new platforms, new PPC spend, you've got to maybe hire new people, work with agencies. But don't forget, you're often saving from another part of the business too. So and if digital marketing overall and digital communication, it can be quite strategic, and you can be very accurate with what you do. As you get good at it as a business, you can certainly make efficient with your communication. But so IBM is a good example of a real like business transformation with facts and figures. Another example would be, take say Vodafone, who also undergone a sort of a digital transformation over the last 5 to 6 years. Their approach with us was to get access to a full library for their marketing and customer service teams to gradually upgrade themselves, so that both the central sort of business and marketing strategies would become more digitally focused, and then as they rolled them out to those satellite Vodafone sort of offices around different parts of Europe and the world, that those offices could interpret what the central sort of marketing operation team were doing around building more digitally focused campaigns. Well, I think it's very important as well, just to remind, I always say this when I'm talking to traditional marketing professionals. I am one myself. That's what my background was. Everything you've learned in marketing up to date, traditional marketing, it's still very important. It's still, brand is still very important. Strategy is still very important. All digital is just an increased amount of tools, platforms, channels that you can go and target. Yes, you do have to learn how they work and oversee what you're doing, but your base experience still counts for something, because sometimes marketing leaders can get a message from the digital world that you're out of date, your skills don't matter anymore, and that's not really true. So just reassure people there as well. Integrated campaigns, there's still people engaging with offline content and channels, so it's very important to take a holistic approach as well, okay, when you're looking at your digital transformation piece. So we'll share some of those case studies with you, Paul, as well, if you want to pass on to the attendees here today.
Yes, we will be having a post-event email to everybody attending or watching the recording, which we can share the content with them. So I will touch a little bit of things you already discussed. First of all, ROI. I just put that in in big letters because that's the main discussion, the return of investment, with all of our customers, with us specifically being a consulting firm, VCL, or when it comes to digital marketing. So thank you for putting some perspective when it comes to the return of investment. And communication channels, I have a note here. We have seen even governments moving to Twitter for announcements. So that's one of the biggest example how the communication changes now with citizens. So imagine with customers, and as you said, with the example with a bank that was offline, if they had a Twitter and they could announce that, we know that we're fixing this. In the meantime, you can use the mobile app and quick payment system, so then you can market other solutions also at the same time. So that's another thing that I took note. Then the thing that you mentioned, the once-off big trainings, we have changed in the TTM VCL group. We used to be doing that, but we sat down and we reinvented our company firsthand completely. So we're going now and we're looking at coaching. We're looking at continuous knowledge. I mean, this is one of the skills that a lot of the companies are looking into their employees, a continuous learning and education system, because as you said, what you have now in 2021 is not going to be the same, at least in 2022, taking into account what is happening now, that people are returning back and so on and so forth. And this is one of the big practices we have seen is academies within organization. And this academy is not a once-off. It's going to be running every year. And it's also part of the culture, let's say, that the culture strategy that most of the organizations have or should have if they don't have. Excellent. So we have painted the picture, if I may say. We know the challenges. We briefly touched on the solution, and we have seen also here on the poll that most of the customers, and that was expected, that they already have a digital marketing strategy and are executing on this. Okay, and this is what I expected, to be honest, or at least we have designed one digital marketing, and we are upskilling our people to execute on that. Okay, and I'm rushing into topics. The other one I would like to touch here is what you said. The people, the leaders, the campaigns are not gone. The brand is not gone. The digital marketing is a difficult channel, difficult path, a different path. Sorry, to touch upon your customers and ROI, expand your audience. So using the traditional channels, you would get an audience of, I don't know, 10K, but through digital, you can get to 100. You can get to the people you have to get the message to. This is important. It's like I'm giving you an example with LinkedIn. I think professionally, LinkedIn it's a very powerful channel because we were like, oh, this campaign that we're doing today, for example, is for marketing people. Excellent. We can run the campaign on LinkedIn, and we know LinkedIn knows who's in marketing. So you can specify which people you want to touch with this campaign, in a sense. Okay. So this is really powerful. If you didn't have this, it's not easy to do this. Okay. So we will move to the last discussion point, which will be the solutions. So VCL, as we said, have partnership with DMI. So when we design the leadership level and we go to upskilling now the people on the digital marketing and the digital strategy that you have, we have the partnership with DMI. And I would invite Alex to give us a little bit of more details when it comes to how you can get certified, okay, and how it looks like. If you can share a little bit of a look and feel of how the DMI portal looks like and what people should expect.
Absolutely, I'd be delighted. Yeah, so building off of what I spoke about with our program and the kind of areas that is covered. So that sort of program that you take is sort of one prong of your digital marketing education, but you need to stay relevant. You need to make sure that you're keeping an eye out on everything that is sort of developing since your course has been written, essentially. So what I'm going to do now is take you on a grand tour of our DMI membership area. So before I show you, so you're not so distracted because it's quite good looking, you need to, this is the area where, this is our library. So this is where we publish new material up to 3 times a week. And it's a variety of material. It can be webinars, it can be articles, toolkits, ebooks, all these things that are relevant, they're new, and they're written by experts. Okay, I will show you now. Let me share my screen. Just
drum roll.
I know, drum roll, please.
And if you can go a little bit into specifics, because you mentioned there's a membership. So what is the difference by doing a once-off course, let's say once-off certification, and what is the difference with a membership? Yes.
Oh, absolutely. So thanks, Paul. So when you do a single course, you then get certified as a certified digital marketer. But you also, when you join membership, we do it usually on an annual basis. When you become a DMI member, you become part of the wider DMI community. And what you do is you get access to material that is only available for DMI members. So this is the sort of the material that once you're certified, you will then you'll stay ahead of the game. That's mainly our that's our sort of phrase that we say at the DMI, but you really will. You'll be told by experts that this is what you need to know in order to essentially keep your certification relevant, because as we've said throughout this entire presentation, things just change so much, and you need to prove to whether it's your employer or your customers that you're the expert, but also you need to also know all of that material to show off your expertise. And if you have any further questions on certification in terms of what that looks like, I mean, in terms of simple things, you can share things to your LinkedIn. Everyone can see that you're certified. It's a very sort of joining the DMI community. It's a very social community. So you can reach out to other marketers across the world as a certified member. And I'll show you how you can do that in a moment. But just to give you an idea of what this membership looks like. So this is in addition to your course. So I believe with VCL, you might be taking a course either online, in class, but then you can also sign on to your DMI profile when you go to digitalmarketinginstitute.com. And this is our resources section here. So this is the landing page for everything DMI membership. So it's quite, we've actually just launched this new version of the sort of UX experience. But you can see here, we have a variety of featured content. This is, again, as I say, updated several times a week. And this is what you can see is trending at the moment. But we have articles, we have micro lessons. So I'll show you a few of these in a moment. Toolkits, presentations, webinars, videos, ebooks, podcasts, a glossary, which is incredibly helpful if you're studying. You really need those definitions.
But what's amazing is that we kind of divide this by the key categories of digital marketing too. So again, I'm someone that I'm not a numbers person. If I can avoid it, I'm not going to be reading anything about Google Analytics. I'm more interested in content marketing and strategy. So I might click into content marketing and see, okay, what's trending here in content marketing? At the moment, we have a guide and toolkit on guest blogging. So this is a great way to sort of promote your blog on, or your product on, say, a aligned blog or whatever it might be. But we give you the guide and toolkit so you know that you're giving your strongest message and you're creating your strongest sort of blog or strategy. So that's one example there. But we also have a variety of podcasts, webinars. I mean, I can go on and on and on, but you can click through the variety of different topics here. Then,
So for
yeah,
example, if I may interrupt,
of
you see
course.
digital strategy that even the people who are defining the strategy can have resources here, one to understand the components within the strategy, but also being trained on when it comes to creating the digital strategy.
Absolutely, that's a great point, Paul, because I think when we're running at the top of our game, we might think, I know everything, I don't need to upskill, but you're really closing yourself off and your brand off to development if you aren't sort of referring to these toolkits, referring to what the market is saying, what the industry is saying. So absolutely, if you're building your strategy, you really want to make sure that you're opening yourself up to essentially to make sure that you're ahead of your competitors as well here. You want to make sure that you're delivering something creative, something new. And you can do this through again, education is just, it's at the core of everything. So speaking of education and learning, outside of your course, you can take small lessons. And I mean, these are small, these are a couple minutes on all things digital. So again, say I'm going to continue my battle against numbers. Say I go, okay, I'm working on something. I just need to know how to do a certain aspect of Google Analytics. Thankfully, I can watch these small videos here as a DMI member just to understand. I mean, I'm going to start with data basics. That will be my starting point. But just to get an idea of sort of need to know information. So you don't have to take a full course here. Again, once you're certified and you have access to this material, actually this is available pre-certification too, so it can complement your course as you do it. You can learn from all these different areas. So e-commerce, again, during COVID is huge. We have tons of e-commerce information. So again, you can just scan through these, but maybe I'll pick cross-border e-commerce. So you can see here, so this is what our lessons look like. You'll have, I'm pausing this just so the audio doesn't cut over me, but we'll have our lovely little speaker in the corner here, and then he has his whiteboard behind him. So they're really well done. They're very simple, they're very clear, easy to understand, and you're also just getting that information as you need it. You're not waiting around for the context or anything. It's boom, here you go, and then continue on your way. Something that's also incredibly helpful when you're putting together a presentation, a strategy, a report, whatever it might be, is our toolkit section. And I use these actually in my everyday. So here in the toolkit section, this is, I mentioned that blog post, but what this is with our design team and with our expert marketing team, as well as our sort of subject matter experts, we've put together these toolkits that we think marketers, and we know marketers need to use in their day-to-day. So something that's really helpful is, let me see, scroll down here, the digital marketing budget full toolkit. So this is an Excel sheet that is a complex Excel sheet. I'm not sure if you'll be able to see it if I open it up here. Are you able to see that Excel sheet there?
Yes, yes,
Fabulous. Thank you. So here you go. I mean, this would take ages to put together yourself, but with our brand team, so it's done, it's an attractive design, but it's also done with someone who is an expert in putting together digital marketing budgets. So all of this is ready for you. Paid media, content, creative, just all these things to keep an eye on. We've also inputted the important information you should be watching. So here you go, that's set. Another toolkit we have that I've just highlighted here, this one is the channel performance tracker. So again, I just wanted to highlight our more complex toolkits because just to show you how much time this saves. If you become a DMI member and you get access to these, you don't have to worry about putting these Excel sheets together that look good, and they cover everything, they're comprehensive. We've done that for you. So here's another one about keeping track of your channels. So we also give you instructions on how to use it. That's very important. So you can have a look here, save your data sheet, your KPIs, and then all this information then pops in here. So that's an example of tool. We have so many of these. I know we're running out of time, so I'm going to keep an eye. I'm keeping an eye on the time. But we also have our ebooks, which are very, very important. They're word searchable, so you don't have to read the whole thing. You should, but if you're in a rush, you can Control F and find what you're looking for. But again, these are put together by our experts. So this is need to know information. It's cutting edge and it's relevant. So what's also helpful is once you're certified, to maintain your certification, and I'll talk about this a bit more in questions, if anyone has any questions. To maintain your certification, you can join our continuous professional development program. And with this,
This was actually a question that was just to move and integrate a bit the Q&A part of things in the discussion. Since you mentioned it, there was a question just like, since things are moving so fast, as we said, how can people ensure that they remain relevant, let's say, after getting certified, or the certification doesn't become irrelevant, let's say, afterwards, and then you need a new version or something like that?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's great. That would be maintaining this continuous professional development program. So once you're certified, you're automatically enrolled, but you need to maintain your DMI membership just by paying your annual fee, and that's you'll be a Power Plus member is the term. You don't need to remember that right now, but by doing that, you need to maintain a certain level of points per year, and you earn your points by a big one is ebooks always make me think of this because you earn quite a few points by reading an ebook because it takes a while. So by maintaining those points, you can then maintain that your level of certification is relevant because you're reading up-to-date material. So it's all by engaging within this membership that you maintain your relevance, and you can prove it by maintaining your CPD points. I'll just show you as well, just to plug the webinar that is happening today. Thank you for that reminder, Paul. We have an email marketing webinar today. So every webinar that we run, which we run on a monthly basis, has 2,000 to 3,000 attendees, and it's run by a leading expert globally. A huge point about the DMI membership is that because it's a global program, we can reach people in South Africa, in the States, in London, in Australia, all over the world. We're not limited by who's within our vicinity. So it's really, really fantastic that we can reach out to these people. So we run webinars with them monthly. Finally, I'm looking at the time. We have our courses. I just want to show you as a member, you can ignore these. These are my own little DMI courses. I want to show you the DMI sprints, this green one here. So these are courses.
That's by the way, an agile, sprint term.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Exactly. See, we're relevant. But we do. You can do this while you're doing your course with VCL, or once you're certified. If you engage in these short courses here, for instance, looking at analytics in Europe, GDPR is huge. By engaging in these, you earn CPD points. So you maintain your relevancy by watching these. So these are free with your membership. Oh, and there's no exam on these, which you'll be absolutely relieved to hear. Final thing is our community forum. When you join membership, you become a part of the DMI and VCL community. With DMI, we have over 100 and what are we at now? Over 140,000 members across the globe. And what you can do in this forum here, so there's 4 areas. I'm just going to show you the general today. But through this forum here, it's like any sort of online community forum, but you can engage with the over 140,000 people. So when you post, that's who has access to look at these questions here. So there's no pressure. Everyone's watching. But yeah, you can go online here. And these are so supportive. There are things like, I passed my exam, or questions more about sort of professional conduct, collaboration with someone to make your job easier, advice please, because we know sometimes collaboration can make life a bit harder. Things like drop shipping on Shopify. We have a Shopify webinar actually soon. Google's getting rid of cookies. I mean, there's just so much that is being talked about all the time that you might learn about things you didn't even know were happening. So that's the forum. You can engage with people. I'll leave it at that because there's so much to talk about. But if anyone does have any specific questions, do let me know.
Thank you, Alex. It was a grand tour, as you said, as you promised. We have one more question, and I will direct this to Paul, if I may. The question goes to this is also true for VCL. We're going through the exercise with the leadership for many organizations when it comes to reinvent themselves and how they will deliver value. As you said, in 2022, everyone is looking at the answer of how do you see, let's say, the environment being in 2022, and what will be the trends for marketing in 2022?
Okay, so trying to predict the future in digital. Oh my God. I like
Take a guess.
Yeah, well, it's funny. When I joined DMI in 2012, I was obviously consumed with digital. I did a lot of our courses. I did the postgrad. I was talking about digital marketing all day, every day. Every year, I would experts, inverted commas, on LinkedIn say, by 2014, Facebook will be gone. By 2015, Facebook won't be will have disappeared. Just picking Facebook as an example, Facebook got like so much criticism from the business community, from the digital experts. It's not a good platform. And I just sat back and observed all this and saw Facebook just got bigger. Okay, I don't have a personal opinion on Facebook. It's there. It's a platform. It has a big audience. There as a business professional, I have to respect it. Okay, so it's been my experience that the big social platforms, like even with GDPR that's been brought in Europe, and there's more legislation coming across the Middle East, and there's legislation popping up in different states in the US to protect the consumer, protect privacy. Even with all that legislation, those existing social platforms are still there. They're still turning out lots of good advertising revenue. They still have audiences. They still have very engaged audiences. So I think the dominant platforms like Twitter, Facebook, they'll hold their market share because they haven't really suffered, from they've had a mountain of bad press in different places, and they had to go before the US government and answer all sorts of questions. And they're important questions, by the way, and certainly law has to catch up with the digital companies. But the audiences in general, the general audience, i.e. the individual, doesn't seem to really care too much about these individual privacy concerns. They just keep using these platforms. You'll probably see more social platforms. Like we've had to look at, like relating back to COVID, TikTok has just sprung out of like
That will be a question that I have. Do you see marketing happening through TikTok, for example?
It will happen, okay, because
Yes.
like the basic rule of marketing and advertising is that you follow the eyeballs, okay? So if there's a place where people congregate, you
You
can
meet the customer where
guarantee.
he is. Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly.
You can guarantee if people are congregated somewhere online or offline, businesses will try put a marketing or a business message in front of those people. What you can't predict is, will the platform do it well? Okay, and how will they do it? So will they, if they do it well, they don't interrupt their users' use of the platform, too badly. Okay, so they do it in a nice subtle way, and it works for businesses, works for the users. So any platform that develops a mass audience will have business services coming and not too far behind. Okay, once the audience is stable and they've proved by numbers that they're there, then they will start to offer marketing and advertising functions to companies. What they will be will depend on the platform. So you mentioned at the start, like digital you can research your audience so easily using lots of free tools. So, you know, no company in the world in 2022 or 2021 has the excuse of, well, I don't know if my customer is on that platform or not. You can find out. There's so much raw data out there which will tell you exactly who's on what platform, and then you make a decision: is that my customer? Okay, so and then you decide how you want to build a strategy towards that platform. So I think we would say just a basic trend. I think social platforms are going to keep growing. Google is stable as a dominant search engine, so you know that's where a lot of your PPC is gonna be focused, and your SEO strategy if you do well on Google. Other search engines are there again, depending on what country or region you're in. And the final point I would say for individuals and companies, and we've done this ourselves, we've brought a learning management system into our own business, not our own, we've brought another one in. I think a key thing for transformation and agility is giving your employees, your teams, you yourself, an opportunity to keep developing your skills month on month through a nice online user experience. So, and it's a great way to keep staff. Okay, so a lot of the companies we work with, it's not always related to the business bottom line like ROI, or it's how do we keep our staff for another year. Okay, so they want to bring in more education into their company, because if that's beyond salary, and you can't keep increasing people's salary. Okay, and money is not the only thing that keeps your team happy. A lot of it is around their own development and feeling that they're getting access to training and education that they own, okay, on their CV, and it's a good reason for them to stay in your company another year, another 2 years, and that's a massive cost saving for a business. Employee churn in a global world where people can move around jobs quite freely now, different countries and continents, just keeping your staff stable and happy for another year is a massive win for a business as well. Okay, so
And this is also something that our other arm, TTM, does, which is talent development, attraction, and retention comes into play. Thank you, Paul. So for the sake of time, I will just add a little bit of visual point of view. So what we see in let's say for 2022, we're going to go back to a hybrid model. So some habits that have been built throughout these 2 years within COVID will stay. So people are more online. So even older generations that were resisting in a way have been forced by the situation to go online and go into digital channels. But at the same time, people will go back out. They want to go back out right now. So they will go back to retail shops. So I will use an example that I use with my customers. So there's a big, I believe I can mention him, the firm Burberry. So what their strategy was, we want to have the same experience in all our channels. If somebody goes to our stores or if it's online, he will find the same things. There will be screens showing the same campaigns we have in our online channels. So this is what I mean by a hybrid environment. If you go to a bank, if you go to the retail, if you go to the branch, or if you go online, you'll have the same experience. And this is what we see and we believe, for example, in 22 is going to happen. And we call this like a hybrid environment that we'll be working with. And the expectation that customers now have is to have the same experience, either in the physical location or in the digital location. And again, this is our point of view. So with that, Alex, Paul, and everyone attending live, thank you very much. It has been a pleasure. We are so happy to be in partnership with DMI and looking forward to working with everyone in the marketing departments with DMI and all our partners and customers. So thank you again very much for the time today, and we will see you again in the webinar later on.
Thank you very, very much. That was such great fun and lovely. Hope to see everyone on the courses.